Okay, you know how one thing leads to another. Quite often things attach. I have to thank one of my regulars, Angie, for leaving me a link that led to a link that led me to this. This shows you an ancient connection that no one had till now of Denmark and Nordic people being attached to ancient Egypt back in the day. Danish Bronze Age glass beads traced to Egypt. Now, let me pull it in so we can look at this a lot better. But analysis of glass beads found in Denmark give us new knowledge of the Bronze Age trade routes. Here's all the people that were attached to it. International collaboration between Mosgaard Museum and Aarhus, the National Museum of Denmark in Copenhagen, and Institut de Recherche, so research, Surles Archaeometrie, so that's archaeology, called Earmat in Orleans, France, has resulted in sensational discovery about the trade routes between Denmark and the ancient civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia in the Bronze Age 3,400 years ago. This discovery also gives us the knowledge about the sun cult in the Nordic Bronze Age that they had. Well, we've known that they had a sun cult. Everybody had a sun cult, especially coming out of the last ice age. It seems like everybody had a sun cult, and of course farmers and things, and it started working off that, and that led us to calendars and things that led to seasonal changes, which then in turn led to almanacs and so on. And we kind of realize that now looking back, or if anybody checks into that type of thing. But when we knew Mesopotamia, Sumeria, had traded with Egypt constantly. In fact, that's where the cattle come from, the grain comes from there, and things that had gotten them all going in the first place. And they had trade back and forth, and lapis lazuli is all over the Egyptian ornaments, and so they trade for things. Well, the Egyptians make their own see-through glass beads that have cobalt in them, and it makes them blue, and one of their little trade secrets. And they trade with them those back and forth, so you can find them in those burials. But a new thing has been found with these same beads now at a totally different time. Archaeologist Janet Verberg from Mosgaard Museum and Fleming Call from the National Museum and Bernard Grautz, director of Ermat, analyzed the composition of some blue glass beads found in the burial Bronze Age women in Denmark. And this analysis revealed that the glass originate from the same glass workshops in Egypt that supplied the glass that the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun took with him to his grave. Under analysis, they're exactly the same, perhaps made right during the same time or with the exact same chemical composition, the things used where the glass was made, everything. So the study here is published in Skalk, and you can look that up. So here's the blue glass beads. They found them on her body, and this is the depiction. It's kind of odd, but there's no ribs showing here at all, but it's her full neck bone. No collar, no ribs, no arms, no hip or anything that I see there, no pelvis, but then it does have her legs, and that's all that's really pretty much left of it. But she had a ceremonial dagger. She had a giant belt piece, a big belt piece on it, and her skirt is made out of little brass tubes, so it would almost be a wind chime effect. So, a lot of these colored beads can be made out of different colored stones, and that's all they were looking for. But certain precious things can lead you to whole new findings, like these blue beads up here. Now, globalization in the Bronze Age. 23 glass beads from Denmark were analyzed using plasma spectrometry. This keeps you from destroying the object. You don't have to even flake a piece off of it and run it under analysis or electron spectrograph. This technique makes it possible to compare the chemical composition of trace elements in the beads and the reference material from the Amarna in Egypt and Nippur in Mesopotamia. They already had those correlated together, but they checked them versus each other, and they go, yeah, that's it, and it is it. Same ones in Nippur. And the ones in Mesopotamia are about 50 kilometers southwest of Baghdad in Iraq. The comparison showed that the chemical composition of the two sets of trace elements match exactly. The researchers' first object for comparison was a bead from a wealthy woman grave at Olby, at 40 kilometers south of Copenhagen in Denmark, land of the Vikings. The woman had been buried in a more extravagant fashion, lying in a hollowed-out oak trunk, as you saw above, and wearing a beautiful belt disc, a smart skirt with tinkling, shining bronze tubes, and an overarm bracelet made of amber beads, and a single blue glass bead. Now, the amber has been known to be something that is magical in old times, and they made amber rods, and you would rub on them with wool, and it makes a static, and you can get a shock out of the end of it. So it's like a wizard thing, you know, very Harry Potterish type thing. And it was one way showing that you could call lightning, that type of thing. Anyhow, so the woman had been buried in a more extravagant fashion, lying in a hollowed-out tree trunk. And it's kind of like a canoe type of thing, and it's an oak trunk, and you know that the oak trees through the Druids and all those people are sacred, so it's sacred that she's in. Glass bead turned out to be Egyptian. This is the first time that the typical Egyptian cobalt glass has been discovered outside of the Mediterranean area in Mesopotamia. The archaeologists can now also substantiate that there is a connection between the amber beads and the glass beads. It has been known for a long time that amber was exported in the Bronze Age from Nordic latitudes and southward. Tutankhamun and other Egyptian pharaohs had large chains and boxes of their burial chambers of amber beads, and they're thinking that's the connection there, that they were trading, or one of the things, you know, it didn't have to be, you know, I'll trade you a blue for an amber. Yeah, there could have been many different trades going on, but this seems to be the export. Now the researchers are linking amber and glass together in an unexpected way. Nordic and Egyptian sun cults traded goods. One property that both glass and amber have is that sunlight penetrates their surface and makes them glow in the light. It appears that glass and amber beads have been found together on sites from the Middle East, Turkey, Greece, Italy, and Germany to the Nordic latitudes. The archaeologists believe this could prove a link between the Egyptian sun cult and the Nordic sun cult. When the Danish woman in the Bronze Age took a piece of jewelry made of amber and blue glass with her to the grave, it constituted a prayer to the sun to ensure that she would be reunited with it and share her fate with the sun's own eternal journey. And that's the idea of Ra. You know, many sun cults, and in fact today we have Jesus, which is really a form of sun cult, where he dies on December 21st, and then 3 days later symbolically starts rising again at the winter solstice. So it's the sun that rises again to save all of mankind. So far, the researchers have shown that there was a trade connection in Egypt and Mesopotamia in the years 1400 to 1100 BC, and the trade to Mesopotamia goes way back before that. What they're saying there, I believe they messed up, is it's between there and Denmark itself, 1400 to 1100 BC, during the time of King Tut. Finding out whether the route continued in the later Bronze Age is a future task for the Danish-French research team, and indeed they're going to start looking into this. Here's something funny, you know, that you don't see, but they've had this body since 1800s, and late 1800s, and they've never looked into that, or people that know about glass beadwork haven't made the correlation yet. But finally someone went to this place that knew about Egyptian glass beadwork. They look into it, and oh wow, here's something that modern teachings don't tell, something that shows you that the Vikings and Nordic people had a connection to Egypt way back when, during the time of King Tut, and possibly prior. No one yet knows how prior that could be. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, and enjoy. Have a great day.